am Tejaswini Patwardhan, founder of Open Minds Productions. Let me ask you a question. What does it take to bring about a change? Thinking differently? Yes, definitely. But more than that, making things happen. We are coming up with a series called Bheed Se Alag, in which we shall meet people from different walks of life. People who have made a positive impact in the world around them. People who are part of the crowd, भीड़ का हिस्सा, पर फिर भी भीड़ से अलग. Nuclear reactors, chemical plants, avionics, railway signaling, and space missions have one thing in common: the need for reliability. And one thing that ensures reliability is formal verification method, which ensures that there is zero defect in computing systems that handle all the aforesaid. Even the minutest flaws would result in loss of lives, environmental and infrastructure damage, financial loss, and scientific setback. Today we have with us Hrishikesh Karmarkar, a scientist working in this field with a premier institute in Mumbai, a truly behind-the-scene hero. Welcome, Hrishikesh.
Hi, Teju. How are you?
I'm good. Hrishikesh, through this chat that we would be having, I would want you to speak about, amongst many other things, what excites you about your work, and what is it that inspired you as a kid to take up this profession?
Well, with me, it was. I don't think it was. It was a dream to be a scientist, or this was not something that I have always aspired to, or have always seen myself as. I think with me, it was a gradual process. It was a step-by-step thing that I, gave my SSC exam, saw where I was, then the HSC, and then, I think I grew into this role, and the kind of thing that I wanted to do came to me gradually. Like more of an organic process than, a grand dream that has to be realized, an objective to be reached. It was never like that. But I think, one of the things that really pushed me, or what one could say, gave me that slight nudge towards this field was, I think I was always curious about things. I always wanted to know more about how things work. And there was a certain openness to new experiences, which also got me into a lot of trouble. But I think that along with, this insight into where one has ideas about the world, and one has curiosity about the world, and then one goes out and explores the world. That openness to experiences that allows us to explore the world. And while one explores the world, one realizes that inside your head there are these belief systems. You believe things are this way, but once you see that things in the real world, they work slightly differently, or sometimes really differently from what you have always believed them to, then I think there has to be this, maybe I can call it intellectual honesty, but it's more like an insight into the fact that, oh, I am wrong, and things are not as they seem to be. And this ability to really, fix those ideas is really, I have always had this kind of this ability.
I think you have put it very beautifully, where a scientist always has to be curious about how true his beliefs are, or work towards an objective truth in that sense.
I think that is absolutely fundamental. You have a curiosity and you observe things, right? Science is all about observing reality as it is. And then, but once you observe reality, it's like there's always these assumptions that you have in your mind. If you start with a clean slate, it's great. But if you don't, you need to be able to fix those assumptions and, really understand what it could be, and ask those new questions that allow you to, explore the world further, understand it more.
Do you think our
So I think
current
that was the foundation on which I think this the journey to where I am right now, and I'm not really a hero as you put it. I'm just I think I'm a cog in a big system, but to be that cog, I think I fulfilled some expectations and some prerequisites, and I think that is why I'm this cog where I am.
Oh, I think you are a hero, a behind the scene hero, as I rightly put. All scientists are. We are never
No,
aware of the things that you people do.
I think you're too kind.
Coming to my next question, based on what you told me, what
Yeah.
is it? What question or what challenges were you setting out to address when you started your work in this field? Because your field is also quite unknown to masses in general.
Yeah. So again, I think so perhaps I'll put it this way, that even while getting into this line of work, in this very specific line of work, I'd actually gone through a number of fields and areas, and I have worked in different areas of computer science itself. Some areas that straddle the boundaries between computer science and electrical engineering. And then, when I joined my PhD, I was presented with a set of problems. My advisor presented me with a set of problems and asked me to, think about them, go back to my room, go home, and look at the literature and see what really interests me. So I think this line of work was something that I found that it had a nice mix of theory. There were very strong theoretical underpinnings, as well as there was a lot of scope to apply those ideas, apply those theoretical ideas in a very practical setting. So again, in that sense, I think I've gone through a number of things and then come to this problem, so to say. And so, what was your exact question again?
Yeah.
No, what was your exact question again?
My question was, what problems were you
Oh.
setting out to address?
Yeah, okay. So
So,
yeah, so
because
the reason I got lost was that there was not really a problem I was setting out to address. Like there was no
I
goal
think
again.
this field,
It
as
was,
far as I know, is, I will not call it at a nascent stage in India, but not really popular in a general psyche, in consciousness. That when you're a scientist, people don't think they can combine, they can marry computer science with being a scientist.
No, I think even within the field of computer science broadly, or even engineering, I do not think you introduce formal verification and formal methods. I do not think that it is as well known even within the field. People know about artificial intelligence. People know that the databases. Most of your banking systems run on databases, so people are aware of broadly the areas of computer science, but formal verification is something that is, it is fortunately, well, I wouldn't say fortunately, it's unfortunately still obscure, but I think there's an increasing awareness about the field, because we had this recent accident where this Boeing 737 basically fell out of the sky, and so there have been a number of accidents over the years, and so when we deal with safety critical systems, you mentioned avionics, you mentioned railway signaling, you mentioned nuclear power plants. So these are a class of systems which are called as safety critical systems. So why are they safety critical systems? They are safety critical systems because safety is absolutely paramount, right? So what it means is that an error somewhere, maybe in the mechanical systems or the control systems, can have disastrous repercussions. The consequences are huge, both in terms of the money lost as well as human lives lost. Human lives are priceless. So in that sense, for example, a Boeing 737 falling out of the sky, the cost is huge in terms of the human cost as well as the cost to the company in terms of the actual airplane, right? So for example, if I had to compare and contrast, a similar kind of error, what actually leads to these kind of accidents, many times are very small errors. The Ariane 5 explosion, so there was this rocket Ariane 5 which exploded. And so the error there was, it was like a rookie programming error. But it was such a small error, but the consequences were disastrous. Millions
There
of
is
dollars
no
lost.
scope for minutest of
Exactly.
effect in what you do.
Exactly.
Uh,
So basically to basically summarize it, yeah, certainly there is less awareness about, almost zero awareness in terms of the general public that there is such a field at work behind safety critical systems. There's little to no awareness within the field of computer science and engineering that there are people who actually do this kind of work. So that is I do want to say it's fortunate because people like us can work in peace because there's no limelight on us. But it's unfortunate that in the sense that I think it would benefit society as a large to know more about this and actually appreciate that there's a vast there's a tremendously
yeah, where
complex
people
system
can
behind.
probably
Yeah.
be. I suppose that your field is in great demand outside India. So, what really? We are lucky that you stayed back. But what made you decide on this? What made you stay back here? I'm
So I
asking
don't
this
think I.
question in particular so that young people who might watch this program or who might
Yeah.
want to enter this field understand where you come from and benefit from it.
Yeah. If you ask my personal opinion, I do not think this should be an argument at all. I mean, going abroad, staying back, going to the US, going to Kenya, I do not see how it should affect you as an individual who wants to do great work. One can make the argument that, oh, okay, if you go to the US, you have more funding, you can work on more cutting edge problems, sure. But if you really ask me, I mean, India is let's call it the developing country, and there are a myriad of problems around us. If you are a problem solver, right? If you are curious about things, you're going to find problems to solve everywhere, right? So going abroad, staying back, I don't think that was ever a consideration. I think you should start from what you want to do. If you want to solve problems, do you see problems around you? Do you see problems that are challenging enough for you? So for me, I think that was the only consideration. I mean, I'm not even saying that, oh, I don't want to go, or, I'm not one of those who says that, no, this all, there's a lot of brain drain and people should not be going abroad, people should be working for the motherland. I do not think, I'm that much of a patriot or that kind of a patriot who, has these grandiose visions of what we should be doing and what we should not be doing. I look at it from a very individualistic point of view, right? So when an individual knows, what he or she wants to do, tries to look for things that interest them and they enjoy doing, I think the sum of parts is, much more. It's like a cascading effect. Like, a lot of people coming together and doing the right things is going to end up more likely than not the right thing. So I think society is going to eventually benefit if you yourself are able to, do the right thing for you. Right? So stop thinking about, what is great for society or whether one should go abroad or one should stay here. I think start from what you want to do and, how you can do your job to the best possible extent.
Absolutely.
In fact, argument ever entered my mind.
In fact, the one fun thing that I would like to share with you, I've been interviewing many people in this series, Veer Salak, and all of them, I will not say almost all of them kind of agree with you that they don't do any work for the larger good. They do it because they want to do it and they find joy in doing what they're doing. That it benefits society is a different thing altogether.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you as a component of society, I think if you are doing well, society is anyway.
Exactly. Now, coming from here, why do you think research is important? And what are the possible, I know what are the possible real world applications, but why do you think research or scientific community in general is important. It is not really appreciated much as it has to be in our country.
Yeah, I think, a lot of people who are into research are thought leaders. And I'm not saying that everybody who's doing research is a thought leader. Right? Somebody who but a lot of people who are into research have great ideas, have ideas on how to solve problems, have ideas on perhaps how to create new problems and then solve them. Like happens in theory a lot of times. I mean, mathematicians create problems to solve. Right? But I think it is important. So there is, a research. So let me, just say that, there are these two kinds of research. Right? One is pure research, if I may use that word, and the other I will give it a name as I'll call it applied research. Right? So there is a psychopathic research where there's a research with an objective. Right? You have an objective and you do whatever it takes. You have these stages, you have these problems that you encounter. You keep solving all those problems till you reach the objective. Like a very psychopathic way of thinking. The other or the pure research that I mentioned was where you do not really have an objective, right? So, and I know a lot of people who are into this kind of research, and so they are people who live in their mental spaces. They explore the universe in their heads. They see things that perhaps are not obvious to us, and I think that itself is a great contribution. So, and especially in India and even abroad, I think the pure kind of research is much less appreciated than the applied or the psychopathic research. I call it psychopathic, but whatever. The applied research, where people think that okay, here is a guy who's been sitting around for 5 years, 7 years, and hasn't really contributed. But what is unseen is that he or she has been going through things, reading a lot of literature, figuring out things, and hopefully there is this a tiny bit of output, a tiny problem solved somewhere. Could be like the keystone that perhaps brings a lot of things together and ends up solving large problems. So for me, I think both kinds of research are important. But the one that is less appreciated in India, definitely, and in many places in other parts of the world too, is this pure research where people don't really, people want tangible output. People want like, oh, okay, taxpayers are paying you so much money every month, and what have you come up with in 5 years? Nothing. But maybe in 15 years, that guy or lady is going to come up with maybe the smallest of ideas, which nobody ever thought of, and that could end up changing a lot of things. So I think research is important because it first allows thought leaders or people who see things, people who are really seers of different things that are not very apparent to the rest of us, and perhaps that may lead to something useful for society or to the individual.
What do you think, if there are any, of course, what do you think are the negatives of being a scientist? Are there any? An IT guy might say, I come home very late and I travel a lot or whatever.
No, I don't think. I think, well, if you're looking from a very, very practical viewpoint, I think, to be a researcher, I think you have to be, you can't be like one of these very practical people who have this very perfect idea of how life should be, and by 25 I need to be here, and by 30 I need to be there. I mean, there are people who do that, and I'm not saying that. But to really, be in this kind of field, you need to be a certain kind of a person, right? And as with everything, there is a cost to everything. You are this kind of a person, and then you choose to follow this career or this line of work, then you will have to give up some things. So I think it's more about, because every choice that you make has a cost. It's not about, are there negatives here or positives here. So what people see as a negative could be a positive for you. Like, it's just that you are paying a cost. For example, if you get into research, it is highly unlikely that you're going to be sitting in some corporate office. It is highly unlikely that you're going to have a glamorous company name behind your back. It's highly unlikely that you're going to have, a really huge salary that you can talk to your neighbors about or talk to your friends about. You know why I'm saying that? Because, this is the model that, people tend to think as a model of success. You have an idea of what success means, what these stages of life are. So you choose that, you get something, right? But if you are somebody who enjoys thinking about things, exploring things, exploring new ideas, failing, falling, struggling, there's a lot of frustration involved. Things don't work out. You're wrong. You spend a whole year thinking about things, and things just collapse and nothing works. So then it's basically you reach a point where you wonder, what do you do for a year? It's just that you have gone through a lot of things, you have thought about a lot of things, but there's no real tangible output. You need to be able to be okay with these kind of things, right? So, whereas, when you're in a corporate job, you're fulfilling some expectations, you have these appraisals, and at the end of it, you get your salary and you get an increment. You're okay. But you're not going to get this kind of, joy that you have when you're thinking about things and discovering new things. And maybe, struggling with things, but you have this feeling of having, thought about something different for
I suppose one of the things that is a prerequisite for becoming a scientist is being able to find a method in madness. And then you have people like you who are shy calling themselves doctor. This person does not allow me to call him Dr. Karmarkar, who don't want to ever talk about their work or what they do at all. Thanks a
people
lot.
Should. I think people should listen to the person, not to the degrees.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Karmarkar, because you are a doctor.
Thanks,
Dr. Karmarkar,
it was a pleasure
being here and giving us an insight about what goes on in the scientific mind. Thank you. I hope that this will inspire young people to at least research what scientific field is, the scientific field, and go for it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure. Thanks.